welcome to this episode of Authentic Achievements, where I'm delighted to be joined by the fabulous Andy Weins. And before I get into doing the proper introduction, Andy, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited about having you. But before we get stuck in, let me tell our audience a little bit more about you. So Andy is a fourth-generation entrepreneur, a veteran of the US Army, and a speaker. Through consulting, teaching, podcasting, and writing, he's an enthusiastic supporter of veterans, entrepreneurs, community engagement, individual empowerment, and the environment. He provides veterans, entrepreneurs, and business leaders with a tactical advice to level up. True to his Wisconsin roots, Weins is a Midwest reality check for anyone facing self-doubt. His speaking engagements use data-driven methodologies and battle-tested experiences to give audience practical takeaways. With nearly 2 decades of military service, including service during Operation Iraq Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, and continuing service as a US Army Reserve career counselor. Outside of speaking, his ventures include Green Up Solutions, which is environmental consulting, Camo Crew Junk Removal, which is solid waste removal, and Young Guns, a community of entrepreneurs dedicated to advancing their skills. He's won numerous awards through the years, most recently being named a 2023 Waste 360 40 under 40 member, which honours the next generation of leaders who are shaping the future of waste and recycling, and a 2022 Outstanding Business of the Year Service Disabled Veteran-owned Small Business Award at the Wisconsin Governor's Annual Conference on Diverse Business Development. You've had quite a journey. There's a lot to unpack in there.
So much to unpack. I brought coffee. We'll be all right. We'll be good.
Fabulous. So could we start with you unpacking a little bit of that journey for us? Like kind of what's got you here and where do you see yourself next?
So the journey, like that inflection point, right? I talk about, I did a TEDx years ago, and I talk about we don't get to pick the defining moments in our life. And for me, I need to grow up and be an adult happened on December 23rd, 2008. Okay. I had got out of high school. I started, I started working. Then I joined the Army. Then I deployed. I volunteered to go to Iraq. Then I was homeless for a year. Then I bought a house and started working for my dad's company. And right when it was like I got the house, I got the job, I got the girlfriend, I got the dog, it all went to shit. And that was that moment where it's like, okay, now I have to. I kept chasing other people's dreams and doing other people's things. And then it was like, okay, now it's you and your dog in your house against the world. And very much so I felt against the world. I was angry and pissed off. I was a combat veteran. I couldn't get a job because the economy was a shit. And I spent a lot of time blaming the world for my problems. And that was that rock bottom point going into, January of 2009. That was that, okay, now is time to, get my feet below me and go. And so that's really when I think about my life, where those inflection points, that's really where it was. And what I started doing was driving around the northwest side of Milwaukee, picking up scrap, appliances, microwaves, vacuums, anything I could on the side of the road and recycling it. It was something I did growing up as a kid with my dad. We would drive around the nice neighborhoods the day before trash day and pick up things on the side of the road. And that was okay, I can do this. I can do this and I can make this. At that point, I can make enough money to pay for my meals and pay for my mortgage. That was it. Yeah. And so that winter I lived on, my cottage cheese sandwich winter. So basically I could buy white bread, cottage cheese, and cream of wheat. So that's basically what I ate all winter. And that was really this first step into this. Okay, it's time to be an adult. It's time to be an entrepreneur. It's time to stop putting my time and effort into everybody else's dreams. I work for big corporations. I work for small businesses. I work for the U.S. government. Now it's time to start building my own dreams. And 15 years later, here we are.
Wow, that's quite a journey. I think sometimes we do have those moments, and it reminded me slightly of and I'm going to butcher the quote, but the J.K. Rowling quote, which is "rock bottom became the solid foundation upon which I built my future," seems to resonate so beautifully with the story you shared. But that's such a lot of stages along the way, I guess, that helped you to build that inner strength and that resilience that we sometimes don't know we have until it really comes to be tested. As you said, those life-defining moments where it's like, now's the time to kind of get on with it and step up and make the future you want, rather than continue to hold on to other people's. And I know when we chatted before, you have a lovely phrase of getting people to really think about whether or not they're chasing their own dreams. Could you share that with us?
I have a lot of lovely phrases. I'm not sure which I'm known for. Do the fucking thing. That is what I'm known for. That is the battle cry I live my life with. All too often in my life, I've had the self-doubt. I've had this wounded inner child that feels as though I'm not good enough. I wasn't good enough for my father because he was smarter and faster and bigger and stronger. I wasn't good enough for the bullies. I wasn't good enough to get the job because I didn't have the degree. And then I realized, no, I wasn't good enough to start a business. I didn't have the partner. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the knowledge. And I realized through time, I was always good enough. I was getting in my own fucking way. I knew the answer, right? There's a methodology I talk about in my book, 100% not mine, and it's called the OODA loop. It was developed during the Korean War for fighter pilots. Anyways, it's observe, or it's orient, get yourself looking at, or observe, orient, decide, act. I was the one. I could get myself into a situation. I could figure out what was going on. I could make a decision, like, I'm going to do that. And then I would falter because at that moment, that wounded inner child came up and said, you're not good enough. You're not going to be able to figure it out. And once I learned to slay that dragon and started acting, then and only then did I start living the life I wanted. And so what I tell myself and I remind myself and other people come back to me is, say, this is the thing you do that makes you different, is do the fucking thing. We know good and well inside of us what the logical next step is, what the thing is that, you're spinning around your head, the thing that you're avoiding. That's the thing you need to do. And when you do that, life becomes better. If you listen to people like Goggins, he says, go hard every day. He says, do something that sucks every day. And when you do something that sucks every day, tomorrow, you can't do that same thing that sucked because it sucked yesterday and you already got over it. Do something new that sucks. And that's how you get better in life, is by slaying those dragons one at a time and taking on the thing. People are often like, I just don't know what to do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. That's an excuse. You do know what to do. You're choosing not to take that first step. Even when, I was about to say, even if, eliminate the word if, even when you know it's going to hurt. It's like a good meme or good, just funny saying is like, knowing it's going to hurt and take the step anyways is called courage when it works out. When it doesn't work out, it's often called stupidity. And yet I embrace that. Okay, it's better to fail today and learn today than it is to never fail and never learn.
So true. And actually, when we fail, we only really fail if we stop trying, don't we? Because when we look back at what didn't go right that time, the whole thing won't have been a failure. Bits of it will have worked. So you just have to look at the bits that worked to do them again, and look at the bits that didn't work and go, what could I do instead that might still move it, might still move us forward, that might still get there. And we are our own worst enemy, aren't we? We're our own biggest critic. And I was certainly was the wounded child and got in my own way for a lot of years, and said things to myself I would never dream of even thinking about another human being, let alone saying them. And yet we say those to ourselves and we use them as a reason to hold ourselves back, don't we? To kind of put ourselves in the place that we're in. And yet, we live in a world of polarity. The courage can't exist without the fear. And the fear can't exist without the courage to get through it. So if we've got the fear, we've got the courage. We've just got to believe. And like you say, go in and do the thing we're fearful of, because it never is as bad as we thought. Is it bad? Often it's bad, but it's never quite as bad as we thought. I spent so long like trying to overthink challenging conversations I thought that I was going to have as a leader. And I afterwards was like, why don't you just rip the plaster off? Because you wasted days making yourself feel bad, over analyzing they might say this, and then this might happen, and then this might happen, and you get there and it's never as bad. But you've wasted a week planning it out in your head and reenacting it with yourself, instead of, to your point, just getting out there. And I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt who also used to say, do something every day that scares you. And once you do, all of a sudden you become less scared about things. because it becomes something that you're looking to do. Have I been scared yet today? No, then I haven't pushed myself hard enough. I haven't.
That's correct. Right. Yeah. If you don't look back at your day and say, hey, that kicked my ass, then you know what? You haven't pushed hard enough. And that's the thing. There's there's plenty of sayings out there that say the thing. And whether what I say resonates or not, it is find what resonates with you. What is going to motivate you to live that life? Some people are like, you got to go out there and live your authentic life and be yourself. No, what's the thing you got to do right now? Right? Like, you'll get there. You don't know who you are until you do some shit. And you're like, well, that ain't me. Like, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a drummer in a band. So I bought a drum set and I got in a band, and I was terrible and I didn't get any better. And it wasn't natural. And it's like, well, I'm not doing that again. So it's like, all right, I figured out what I wasn't. What's next? It's like, all right, maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't. Let me give her hell and see what happens. You read about people. I read about people from time to time that take a hobby in their 40s or 50s, and they're like, oh, this is why I was put on this earth. Imagine being 30 and be like, I'm set in my ways. I'm good. I don't want to take on anything new. It's like, is that garbage? I played golf with a guy earlier this year. He's 86 years old. He had 2 careers. He had worked 30 years, got a pension. Then he worked at Home Depot for another 20 years after that. Got his retirement from there, whatever. And now he's like, I'm working on my golf game. He's 86 years old, working on his golf game. We played 9 holes. He was our 4th. We had 3. He jumped in. He didn't take a mulligan. He kept track of his score, and he goes, yep, I'll be back tomorrow working on it again. 86 years old. He's had 2 full careers, and he goes, no one else my age goes out and does stuff. He goes, my friends are in their 50s and 60s because everybody else they gave up in their 50s and 60s, and they don't get to enjoy their 80s. He's 86 years old, still hitting balls every day because that's what he chooses to do. He chooses to work on his next craft.
I love that. It reminds me very much of my great aunt, who sadly we lost at Christmas. But she didn't stop going to the gym until she was 88 years old. She was the gym pinup girl at 80 because she went 3 times a week, but she never stopped right up until 95. And her and my grandparents always used to say, make every day a school day and live every day as if it's your last, because one day you'll be right. But I think somewhere within that there was sage advice. It was like, make sure you learn something new every day and don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today, because tomorrow's not promised. So
that's correct. Make
the most of it right now. And it sounds like you just embody that in what you're doing now. And then sometimes we have to have those moments that really knock us on the seat of our pants for us to actually realize that it's now or never.
Yeah. And you don't get knocked down when you don't stand up. Some people get knocked down and they stay there and they're laying there. Woe is me. I'm a victim. We got plenty of victims in this world. Get out there. Go be a victor of your own story. You don't have to be the hero for somebody else's story. No, be the victor within your own story. It's your story. I read something recently. It's like everybody is the lead actor or actress in their own story, and sometimes they play critical roles in other people's, or they're merely merely in the audience, or what do you call it? What do you call it? It's people that are in the background. I can't think of the name. Now I'm forgetting words. It's background actors. There's a name for them. Whatever, right? Extras. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Or you're an extra, right? The challenge is there's a lot of people that think as though they're not telling their own story. They're like, oh, I have no control. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's like, yeah, that would be the worst movie or worst TV show to ever watch if someone felt like they had no control over their future. Or if they felt like they were only a victim. They weren't even the lead in their own story because they give credence to everybody else and everything else while they were playing the victim of their circumstance.
Oh, it's so
and I've been there.
I think we've all had those moments, and I'm a big believer now that I'm not a victim of my circumstances. I'm a product of my choices. And I say this to my little girl all the time. I was like, everything's choice. We make a bad choice, and that's okay. It doesn't make us a bad person. It meant it was a bad choice. And the beauty of choice is we get to make another one immediately afterwards. So we make a bad one, great. We'll just learn from it and make a better one.
So I'll even challenge you even further. I get rid of, one of my mentors told me years ago, there's no such thing as good news or bad news, only new information and what you do with it. And so now I get rid of good and bad, because what might be a good choice for you is bad for somebody else. It's subjective. So it's real simple. Now I tell people, also eliminate the word mistake. Oh, I made a mistake. No, you made a choice. So here's how it goes. You make a choice and either works out the way you had planned or not. That's it. That is the objective truth. I wrote a book about words. So I'm very particular about the words, because the words you say out loud, you've already thought about, and the words you think about paint the reality you have. And the problem is people paint this fake reality, right? Your podcast here all being about authentic achievements. You have to be able to objectively qualify the world around you so that you know you're not putting this overly biased spin on the world. So instead of saying, oh, it was a good choice or a bad choice, or it was a mistake. No, you made a choice. Did it or did it not work out the way you had planned? No, it didn't. Sounds good. What can you do about it now? And there's no rhetorical questions in life.
Yeah.
When you start having that type of self-talk, now you're empowered. It's like, okay, well, I asked the girl, what'd she say? No. Cool. Is there another girl in the bar? Yes. Do you find her attractive? Yes. Go forth and prosper. Right? Or why did she say no? Right? Maybe she's having a bad day. All right, ask her again tomorrow. She doesn't like tall guys. Okay, well, then you're already, right? It's like you weren't going to marry her. You just didn't know it yet. And now you do. What's next? Or some people say, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. Let's take your aunt, right? Goes to the gym 3 days a week. And then someone will say, oh, I skipped my gym last week, so I only went 2 days. It's like, okay, are you going to give up now, or are you going to go to the gym? And then people say, oh, I'm going to go 4 days next week. Well, hold on. If the plan is 3 days, go 3 days. You can't make up for lost time. The plan is 3 days. Accept the fact that you didn't go and move on with your life. Don't make excuses. Don't be in denial. Don't boo-hoo. Don't beat yourself up either. Right? It's a full spectrum. Like, yeah, I didn't go to the gym last week. I need to make it to the gym 3 days this week. And then you make it 3 days this week, and you say, okay, I have a 1 week trend of doing the right thing. And you count the weeks that it worked. You count the weeks that you went by plan. And now it's objective. And then you can celebrate the victories because you gave clear and concise goal and you did or did not achieve it. And there's none of this blame, excuse, denial bullshit that people will paint this picture. So you have these lenses like, oh no, I'm good, I'm great. And then they go home and cry, or they're upset, or they're frustrated, or they bitch about the same things week in and week out. No, own your own fighting position.
It's so true. And I think everything in life is just a choice, and we get to choose. We get to choose if we're going to choose to be a victim, or we get to choose to be the victor, because that's about what we choose. And you're so right around the words that we use. And again, one of the things that I say to my little girl when she's only 7, bless her, so she's still young and still learning. They come home and they're so finite in their description of themselves. So it's like, I can't color. What do you mean you can't color? I'm not good at coloring. I'm not good at coloring yet. Put yet on the end because it needs to get better. Like if you just finish it, I'm not good at this, you'll give up. You'll decide you don't want to. And if that's a choice, that's okay. But don't make it just become a reality subconsciously because you weren't controlling what it was that you were doing. Because as you say, what we say inside and what we say out loud to ourselves eventually becomes our reality, doesn't it? It turns into what we live.
What we say internally is louder than the shit we project onto this world, right? It's the things said in the quiet places. It's the things said to ourselves when we're daydreaming. That's the stuff that's when you get, in the iceberg analogy, that's when you get below the surface and you start to get to the good stuff. All right, there's analogies everywhere. Like you got a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other. You got Jiminy Cricket in your ear, whatever it is. We all hear it. Some of us are very intentional, right? Whether it's meditation, yoga, quiet time, whatever. You're intentional to put your listening ears on, right? Kids, put on your listening ears, right? You're intentional to listen to it. For me, it's when I drive. That's my time. My girlfriend lives in Chicago, so that's about 90 minutes for me. I drive down typically on Friday afternoons and Monday mornings, and I leave about 5:30 on a Monday morning. I drive from her house to my work for 90 minutes. No music, no podcast, nothing. That is my time to think about what transpired over the weekend. What am I going to be doing this week? And I play things out and I start listening to myself think, and I start listening to what are my priorities. And those 90 minutes set me up for a great week because that's my time to really focus inwards. Meditation. When I meditate, it's amazing. I do not make it a priority. So I give myself the grace. I don't listen to music in the car. That's my time to decompress, think it through. And then when I start listening, things make so much more sense. I can separate the symptoms from the problems so much simpler. I can figure out, what do I have control over? What don't I have control over? I can say the serenity prayer, and the serenity prayer isn't like, oh, I'm going to pray it, right? No, I'm going to run everything through that filter, right? I'm going to start with the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, what can I control? What can't I control? If I can't control it, why am I thinking about it? Some people will ask me, I've heard this often, like, well, what are you worried about? We went through some shifts there at work. Well, what are you worried about? I don't worry about shit. I make decisions. I see where the chips fall, and then I make another decision, and I make another decision, and I make another decision. And occasionally I change direction. Well, we went down this path. It didn't work. Do we want to keep going down there because I said we were going down there, or are we going to shift this way and go that way? Like, we get decisions every day. Every day we start with a fresh clock. What do you do with those 1,440 minutes each day? That's what defines you.
Yeah, I love that. It is so true. And when you are much more intentional, you do find, and I'm a big believer that we're only given a problem we already know the answer to. We've just got to dig deep and listen to the part of us that knows the answer. But we've built all these layers of distrust with our intuition, with ourselves, with the that doesn't allow us to do that until we find whatever is our method. For you it's driving, whether it's meditation, for me it's journaling, but that moment to just really get present with yourself and present with the facts that are in front of you, so that you can then make the decisions based on the facts that you can see. And as you say, you may get better facts later on. You go a few steps down the road and you can see a lot more of what's ahead of you, and then you can decide, do I like this road or not, or do I want to make a different decision? But at least you remain in control, don't you, of where you're taking those choices, where you're playing that hand.
Yeah, and when you play the hand, when you make those choices, you get more information.
Yeah.
You get more facts. And making decisions with the most amount of information is the best choice. We talked about earlier about choices. That one of the things in the military I learned very quickly in the military is, often, going back to good or bad, often there are not good choices or bad choices. So we don't speak in that language.
Yeah.
We say, what's the best choice available? You might be faced with two shitty choices. Use some form of methodology to figure out which is the better of the two. And that's it. And yeah, you might not like it. People, I don't like my choices. Well, those are the ones you got. You always have a choice. There's always a choice. There's people that have been victims. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian philosopher, psychologist rather, he was a POW in World War II, and he chose to focus on happiness. Right? Here's a POW in World War II under the Nazis, chose to be happy, and then chose to go to school and graduate and teach other people about happiness after being a POW. He could have made a lot of choices, all of them being poor. He said, here's my current situation. I can either be sad or mad or glad, and I will choose to be glad. I will choose to find the joy within my situation. I will choose to use my situation to inspire others. That's a choice. There are people that are rape victims that end up having children, and they love on that child because that child was brought into this world, and that is their child. That's a choice.
Yeah.
I would argue your choices are not that complicated, and yet you'll say you have no choice. Once you start figuring out how insignificant this anxiety is, you can paint this new reality for yourself. And again, I am coming from the hilltop of knowledge, because I lived in the valley of bullshit at times where I said, woe is me. I said earlier, when I was 24, 25 years old, I'm like, I'm a combat veteran. I can't get a job. Woe is me. Society sucks. And then I kept screaming it from the floor of the valley. And I would go anywhere where people would listen to me, which was primarily the bar, because there's always people at the bar that'll listen to you. And no one ever helped me get out of the valley of my own bullshit. Why? Because I was in it by myself. I had to figure out how to get out of it. Yeah. And once I figured out how to, and started climbing that hill, then I started seeing more. I got more information. I realized that I was not a victim. I was choosing to be a victim of my circumstance. I had the opportunity to be the victor of my story by my choices. Do I take that hill or do I die in the valley?
I love that. But you took back the pen, you know, as you said
Mm.
earlier, we are the author of our own life. And
Mhm.
it was probably about 10 years ago for me that I suddenly realized if it's not a book I'm enjoying reading, I'm the author. I get to take back the pen. I get to rewrite what happens next. And, you know, language is really important. I always think whenever life throws a change my way, it's just a plot twist. And we all love a
Mm.
movie with a plot twist, don't we? So it's the best bits. I wonder where this is going to take us.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like you said, it's then dealing with that new set of information and making the best choice that you can in that moment with the
Mhm.
information that you had, and allowing us therefore to just keep moving forward. When we chatted last, you talked about admire, desire, require, which I
Mm.
loved. Could you bring that to life for us, please?
Yeah, I sit back and everything in my life, almost everything. I don't like to speak. I'm guilty of speaking in absolute. So almost everything in my life comes down to threes. So I break it down that way. And so one of the threes that I use in my brain is admire, require, desire. Ultimately, what is driving my choice? And so I think about it. So the highest need, right, is this is what I require: food, water, shelter. Look at my Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? I need to matter because that's self actualization. That's high on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, that's a need, right? That makes me a better person, mattering to people, right? And so that's why I come on podcasts like this. That's why I have a podcast myself. That's why I wrote a book. It's like I need to make an impact in this world. That fulfills my need. And I look at, okay, what do I want? Right? Those are my desires. Okay, what do I want that will make my life better? Okay, like what is it? Date night. Okay, I don't need it. Right? It's actual self-actualization. I just need to be good with me. I like date night. Date night's nice, right? Spending time. Having a hobby I enjoy. I like playing volleyball. I want to play volleyball. Don't need it. It doesn't, I don't, I don't make a great impact on the world by playing volleyball. It's good. It's social, right? There's an aspect of it being accepted by society, and yet I can go find it somewhere else. I didn't even accepted, but I can accept it somewhere else, right? And there's the things that I like, right? And that's the like there, and that's the admiration. That's where I admire something from afar. Ooh, I like that. I like that new car. I like that new suit, right? I often associate my likes to possessions because I like them. I like when other people have them. It's nice, and yet it doesn't make me ultimately a better person. The challenge is the likes are what often govern people's decisions making. That is keeping up with the Joneses for some of us old school people. I said that the other day and someone had no idea what I was talking about, right?
I get
Keeping up
that.
with the Joneses. That is the, oh, my neighbors have it. Now I need to have it, right? Need to. That is the, I saw it on Facebook and now I want it. No, you like it. Had it not been presented to you, you wouldn't have even known it existed. You wouldn't even know it was an option. You didn't like it until you found out somebody else had it. People want to chase it. That is their short-term satisfaction. We live in an instant gratification kind of society. And so people are constantly chasing those. And I would argue, and I will argue, I will argue that when your needs are met and you focus more on what you really truly require in this world, you figure out what your why is, right? Mark Twain said it best. There are 2 days in this world that matter: the day that you were born and the day you figure out why. When you fulfill your needs, your wants and your likes, the things that you admire and desire, matter so much less. I
Yes.
figured out a few months ago my why in this world, and it may change. But today, my why is to be so unapologetically myself that others feel the need to be themselves. When I do that, nothing else matters. When I can show up and be me, voice my perspective of the world, hear what other people have to say, gain more knowledge, have an impact on others around me, make things better than the way they were when I showed up. When I do that, it matters not what I wear, what I drive, or who I associate with. What matters is that I showed up as me, and that is fulfilling. And when I put my head down at night, I can say, that was it. That was the defining moment I had today.
I love
When you focus on your needs, your life will get inherently better. The challenge is, and we talked about this at the beginning to a certain extent, people are not self aware. and then they don't self-regulate. And the key to self-awareness and self-regulation starts with self-reflection. People think self-reflection is the last step. No. It is the first step. Reflect back. I'm 39. Reflect back on the last 39 years. What did I do to get here today? What mattered? What really mattered? Now that I'm aware of what matters to me, how do I show up every day? And then how do I regulate in real time? So I know that if I'm out in the real world and someone says they don't like me, I say, good. One less person. Great. That's new information for me to know. Great. I was not put on this planet to be liked by you. Next question. And why is that? Because I watched a 6-minute and 36-second video, Goldcast video, Les Brown, where he said, people's opinions of you are none of your business.
Yeah.
I gave a shit for the first 30 years of my life what people thought about me. I was in a shitty marriage. I went through shitty situations in the Army. I got kicked out of my platoon and eventually kicked out of my company in the Army, which, if you know about the military, that's a rare feat that most are not hoping to achieve, right? I was a victim until I chose to be a victor of that story. I've been laid off of companies. I've had girls break my heart. I've gone through it all like so many other people. And yet, once I started to realize, wow, the only person's perspective that matters is that of my own. And as long as I'm good with me, I'll gain other perspectives because I want to hear their perspective. I want to hear what they have to say. And yet, if they're going to just accost me and go against my values, I need not them in my life. And it doesn't matter if they're blood. It doesn't matter if I've known them for 20 years. It doesn't matter if they're my customer who's paying my bills. Once they attack my ability to be so unapologetically myself, they no longer serve me. I do not need them.
I love that. I think it's so true. And I know, I did some, I'm 50, and I did the whole reflection later than you. So mine was in my mid-40s and gone through quite a lot, and then realized actually what I need to understand is I'm the constant. I can joke, that if I were ever to write my memoirs, it'd be 3 divorces, a stalker, and an evil inner critic, because that's true. But actually, I showed up in all of those. So what was I doing? How was I being? Where was I going? And how do I change that? And a lot of it went back to learning to like yourself for who you truly are and understand where that is. And to your point, to be who you are. And that was when I changed my business to be Authentic Achievements, which is I'm just going to be me. And I read a quote and it really resonated for me because I'd spent years trying to be everybody's cup of tea. And I'm British. We could argue about how we take our tea as much as we argue about politics and religion. You just never win that battle. But this quote was, I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than everybody's cup of tea. And it really worked for me, probably because I've got a Glaswegian grandfather. But it was like, for the right people, you'll be that shot of whiskey and they'll be yours. And for the wrong people, they're just not meant to be in your life and you're not meant to be in theirs. And therefore you can just step away with grace and gratitude and move forward in your life and go, do you know, you weren't, some people are the chapter, some people are an extra and some people are there for the rest of the book, and being able to discern for yourself what that is and recognize the one person that's guaranteed to be there for the rest of the book is you. So you best get up with liking yourself, because if not, that's going to be one miserable book to read, isn't it?
Well, and I like how you talk about your 3 divorces, 3 divorces, stalker, and what else was it?
And an evil inner critic.
An evil. Wait, is that 2 people? An evil and a critic?
No, so an
evil critic.
An inner critic.
Well,
so,
inner critic. There we go. Evil inner critic. Okay. Yeah. So those 5. Right. Okay. So what's interesting, what I love about that is there is a difference, and this is where a lot of people get offward. So I want to explain this. There is a difference between living in your past and giving credence to all that shit and showing your receipts. So Miss Precious Williams, who's an international keynote speaker, she's the pitch queen. She was on Shark Tank. She's amazing. I've seen her live a few times in person. I've had the opportunity to spend one-on-one time with her. She is the pitch queen. And what she talks about is show your receipts.
Yeah.
Show people, right? They weren't there for the whole journey. They didn't read the whole book. Like you said, the only character that knows all the ins and outs is you. So show the receipts. For me, I joke I have 2 ex-fiancés and an ex-wife. Why? Because I was ready to commit, and that's it. Because I was ready to commit. So, well, let's go do the thing, right? Because I'm all about doing the thing. Yeah, right? That's the difference between stupidity and courage, right? Well, okay, it didn't work out. And I have other receipts. I talk about getting kicked out of the Army. I talk about getting kicked out of a company that I founded. those are my receipts. Right. And it's like, oh, those are failures. Like, well, you know what? Steve Jobs got kicked out of the company he founded, and things worked out pretty okay for him. He's one of the most well-known people in the 20th century, and he got kicked out of his company. So you know what? Yeah, I'd rather be with him than some guy I went to high school with that works the same dead-end job he got when he was 22, when he graduated high school, and everyone will forget that he lived. So it's like, yeah, show your damn receipts. I don't live there. I'm not that person anymore. I was that person. And this is how much I've grown since then. I got no problem being transparent, authentic to your word, to bring people along with the journey and show you all the crap. Yeah. I'm going to show you the good stuff. I'm going to show you the bad stuff, to the good and bad. No, I'm going to show you what it is.
Yeah.
You decide if it's good or bad. I remember one of my favorite stories of all time. I walked into Steinhoffel's, which was a furniture store in our area. I walked in. It was right after I was going through my divorce. I walked in. The woman said, "So what brings you here? Sales pitch. Why are you here today?" I said, "I have no furniture." And mind you, I'm in my early 30s at this point. And I go, "I have no furniture." She goes, kind of like, "Why?" I go, "My ex-wife took it all. I'm going through a divorce." And she goes, "Congratulations." What do you mean, congratulations? She goes, "I spent 25 years in a bad marriage. I knew it was bad. It was comfortable. I spent 25 years in a bad marriage. I finally got out. And now I work at Steinhoffel's on the weekends, commission-only sales. I've never had a real career in my life. I have an apartment, and I couldn't be happier." She didn't look at my situation as good news or bad news. It was new information and what she did with it. She told me, "Congratulations." So ever since that moment, every time I hear someone going through a divorce, I say, "Congratulations." And the people that get it, get it. Yeah. And the people that don't get it, don't get it. And that's fine. Yeah. I'll take the chance that some people will get it, because in that moment in my life, I will remember that woman for the rest of my life. In that briefest of moments, no idea what her name is. Yeah. That moment I remember. They always say people don't remember what you did. They remember how they felt about what you did. And yes, at that moment, I felt empowered, because you know what? Yes, I should celebrate the fact, or I will celebrate the fact that I made a decision in a crappy situation.
Yeah. And I think it's, I've learned something from every one of the things that have happened, all the receipts of which there are many. Yeah. But I look at them all now, and I'm so very grateful that I was gifted the lesson. But I only was gifted the lesson because I went back and found it. So I looked at it and said, what have I learned? What was this teaching me? What was I supposed to understand from this choice, so that I'm better equipped with more information for the next choice? Because as you say, the more information we have, the better choices we make, because we have more information, and we do that learning. Andy, I could talk to you all day. I'm very conscious of our time. So if I could ask you to leave us with one pearl of wisdom that you wish you'd known sooner, but that you know now, what would it be?
Because I don't like following the rules, I'm going to tell you a pearl of wisdom that I knew all my life, and I've only recently embraced fully. And it's something my father taught me that his father taught him. And it's my favorite quote of all time. And I end my book with this quote, and it goes right in line with my battle cry for life. Once I've known the quote, and now once I've lived the quote, life has gotten so much simpler. There's no hooks in your ass or trees in your way.
I love that. It's so true, isn't it? It's so true. We try and control everything. And I often go out and walk in nature and go, do you know what? They don't try and control anything. You don't see a tree arguing because it's been stood in the same spot for the rest of its life. It just deals with the options that it's got available. And actually, when we just trust that we are the same and take the action, because I think that's the bit that often stops us, isn't it? It's like, you've got to do something as well. You can't just think it. You've got to do it. You've got to make that move. But once you make the move, the universe does conspire to help you. It does conspire to bring things into view to help you keep moving forward. It's been such a joy. I would love to do it again. But how can people get in touch, learn more about you, and find out more about the impact that you're having? Because you're having such an amazing impact.
Yeah, you can. The simplest way, go to my website, www.andyweins.com. From there, all the things are there. That's it. Go there. Pretty heavy on LinkedIn, YouTube, so all the places to find all the information. And I love it when people randomly will email me or text me. all my contact info is there. I love to chat with anybody and everybody about anything. That's how I learn more.
Fabulous. Well, it has been an absolute joy. I will make sure all of those contact details are in the notes below. And until next time, thank you so much for being here and sharing such insight and such heartfelt wisdom as your unapologetic self. And keep rocking that.
Appreciate it.
Till next time.
Cheers.